This week on ATV News, President Trump and Speaker Paul Ryan withdraw ACHA. A terrorist attack in London leaves 3 people dead, and AU students prepare for student government election season. I'm Tony Peak.
And I'm Liz Holmes.
ATV News starts now. Science over the years has provided hope that maybe one day there could be a cure for the HIV virus. Has science perhaps taken one step closer? An HIV patient in Berlin was deemed cleared of the virus after receiving a stem cell transplant from a donor that had a rare genetic mutation. Also, a baby born with HIV in Mississippi was cured of the disease after receiving medication shortly after birth. These cases don't mean we have an overall cure for the virus, but these cases are leading people to a more optimistic mindset. The previous patients discussed were cured using treatments that are not readily available to the public, but it is more important to recognize what progress we have made thus far. Today, HIV can be managed with diligent following of one's medication plan and lifestyle changes. These treatments are allowing patients to live a more comfortable, pain-free life and be able to live longer than previously infected people.
Victims of September 11, 2001 and their families announced on Monday that they are suing the Saudi Arabian government for its alleged role in the terrorist attacks. The lawsuit claims that the Saudi government helped raise money that al-Qaeda used to execute the terrorist attacks. This lawsuit is possible because of new legislation. President Obama vetoed the law last year, but Congress overrode his veto. It is yet to be determined on whether the victims and their families will receive the funds they seek from the Saudi government. For the latest in entertainment news, let's go to Alexis Arnold.
Thanks, Liz. I'm Alexis Arnold, bringing you ATV Entertainment News. Season 13 of Keeping Up with the Kardashians started with an emotional first episode. Kim K opened up about being held hostage by armed robbers in France. She talked about being duct taped after begging to see her family again and about losing sleep over flashbacks. But Kim's terrifying ordeal wasn't the only one. Kendall Jenner also talked about her run-in with a scary stalker. With the season far from over, it looks like the Kardashian family will definitely be getting more security. Hip-hop legend Snoop Dogg is causing controversy with the music video for his latest song, Lavender. The video depicts Snoop shooting a fake gun at a clown named Ronald Klump. Several lawmakers and media personalities have condemned his mockery of the president, but others say that Snoop has a right to free speech. The video's director tweeted that some people are getting a little too upset over just art. Speaking of hip-hop stars, Chris Brown will be making a guest appearance on the hit TV show Blackish. Despite recent allegations of domestic violence by his ex-girlfriend Karrueche Tran, Brown will still guest star in next week's episode. And lastly, Amy Schumer is dropping out of the live-action Barbie movie. Schumer says she is sadly no longer able to commit to the film due to scheduling conflicts. A Sony spokesperson says the studio respects her decision and will be sharing casting updates soon. The comedian says she is bummed, but looks forward to seeing Barbie on the big screen. I'm Alexis Arnold, and this has been ATV Entertainment News. Back to Tony and Liz.
Thanks, Alexis.
You know, Liz, I watched the first episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, season 13. I have to say, it was just heart-wrenching to hear the details surrounding the robbery. I mean, this is a mother of 2, and I can't even imagine being in her position. You heard her just on the verge of tears, just describing. She just wanted to be there for her kids, and she was just worried that she would never live to see another day with them.
Yeah, when we watch these, celebrities on TV, we always think that everything's going amazing in their lives and they have it all together. And when people are able to, open up on that on camera and really show that they have these vulnerable emotions, I think it's an incredibly powerful experience to watch.
Yeah, hopefully people learn just about personal safety just going forward, especially on the celebrity level. As children, we were always told by our parents that fruits and vegetables, as unappetizing as they may seem, are good for you and should be consumed regularly. But were they wrong all this time? The Pediatrics Journal has finally analyzed the relationship between 100% natural juice consumption and children's weight. The study suggests that consuming 100% fruit juice corresponds to slight weight gain in children 6 years old and younger who have been given 1 serving a day, but children 7 years old and above don't experience this body change. All studies, of course, have limitations, and while the study proves we should err on the side of caution when giving young children fruit juice, it also says that fruit juice in moderation isn't detrimental to your health, specifically with one's weight. Researchers suggest that water and low-fat, unsweetened milk are good alternatives. Now let's go to politics with Savannah McCann.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Savannah McCann with This Week in Politics. The Trump administration suffered a major legislative failure in its attempt to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. President Trump issued an ultimatum to congressional Republicans Thursday, declaring that he was done negotiating with Republicans in the House. The Trump administration and Speaker Ryan made last-minute attempts to reach an accord that would satisfy both the moderates of their party and the more conservative Freedom Caucus. Ryan withdrew the bill at the last minute before a vote on Friday on instructions of President Trump. The White House and Speaker Ryan have stated that they intend to move on to tax reform as they promised should the bill fail. This failure, which occurs despite both Congress and the White House being in Republican control, marks a major setback for a president and a party that made the repeal and replacement of Obamacare a central promise of the 2016 campaign. Perhaps the only congressman with more pressing concerns than the AHCA vote this week is Republican Duncan Hunter of California's 52nd Congressional District. The Department of Justice confirms he is under investigation for alleged campaign finance violations. Other developments in Congress include the ongoing confirmation hearings for Judge Neil Gorsuch's appointment to the Supreme Court. Judge Gorsuch has been met near a unanimous opposition by Senate Democrats, whose unified opposition will nevertheless likely not be enough to prevent his appointment. Additionally, a congressional hearing has produced evidence that associates of the Trump campaign may have colluded with Russian officials during the 2016 campaign. Well, that's This Week in Politics. For ATV News, I'm Savannah McCann. Now back to Tony and Liz at the desk.
Thanks, Savannah.
You know, as more information comes out about Russia, it feels less like politics and more like an episode of Scandal.
No, I completely agree. And what's interesting is that they keep wanting to get more and more details out of the people during these hearings regarding Russia's involvement. But at the end of the day, this is a pending investigation, and they have to remain extremely tight-lipped. So it'll be interesting to see how many hearings go on until we get the developments that we so desperately need.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens in the future.
For sure.
Last week, a report came out saying that ads from major companies and British government were popping up with extremist content next to YouTube videos. Google has apologized and changed their policy by giving brands more control on what content is seen. This mistake has left major companies like AT&T, Verizon, and McDonald's pulling their Google ads.
Now we go to sports with Corey Flax.
Thanks, Liz. I'm Corey Flax with this week's sports update. The United States took down Puerto Rico 8-0 at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, bringing home the USA's first ever World Baseball Classic title. It took the USA 4 tries to win the International Baseball Tournament. Marcus Stroman, a right-handed ace for the Toronto Blue Jays, took home the tournament's MVP, throwing 6 no-hit innings during the championship game. Moving to NBA headlines, on Wednesday night, Russell Westbrook did something never seen before in NBA history. Against the 76ers, Westbrook had a perfect triple-double. Westbrook put up 18 points, dished out 14 dimes, and grabbed 11 boards, but went 6 for 6 from the field and also 6 for 6 from the foul line. OKC defeated the Sixers 122-97. Russell Westbrook was not the only NBA star making history this past week. Phoenix Suns standout Devin Booker became the 6th player in NBA history to score 70 points in a game as he put up 70 in the Suns' 130-120 loss to the Celtics Friday night. Despite only 19 points in the first half, Booker exploded for 51 in the second half. Phoenix Sun fans finally have something to celebrate this season as the Suns have struggled to a 22-51 record. Regarding sports in our nation's capital, the Washington Capitals are currently 2 points ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins for the President's Trophy given to the NHL team with the best regular season record. The Caps took down the Columbus Blue Jackets Thursday night in a shootout. Georgetown has decided to part ways with head basketball coach John Thompson III after 13 seasons. Thompson was successful early on in his tenure, leading the Hoyas to the Final Four in 2007. In recent years, though, Thompson has failed to produce victories. In the last 4 seasons, Georgetown has only reached the NCAA tournament once and had a 14-18 record this season, going 2-16 in conference play. Thompson's termination is especially tough for longtime Georgetown fans who saw Thompson's father, John Thompson Jr.'s successful 26-plus year campaign at Georgetown, which included 3 Final Fours in the 1984 National Championship. That's it for sports. I'm Corey Flax. Back to Tony and Liz at the desk.
Thanks, Corey.
I'm not a huge basketball fan, but it was incredibly exciting to see how well Booker is doing.
Absolutely. I feel like there's just been some major advancements just in the world of sports this week, and it's just been very exciting for fans out there. So, let's keep up the good work, guys. Let's keep it up. Now we go to Bender Arena for a report on the job and internship fair.
Every semester, American University hosts a job and internship fair that gives students the opportunity to build their network and possibly land jobs. American University hosts over 140 public, private, and nonprofit organizations who are eager to recruit thriving AU students. The fair is open to current AU students as well as AU alumni seeking job opportunities. The fair took place on March 22nd in the Bender Arena, where students had the opportunity to approach different job tables and express their interest in companies. With so many companies to explore, many students find success in obtaining opportunities.
So Scoop News Group has almost every year for the past 5 years hired at least one AU internship.
Even students who come with uncertainty often find success.
Really know what they're looking for, what I'm going for. I always just go to put myself out there and to see if I can find any opportunities, because you never know when opportunities are going to pop up.
Before attending the job fair, the Career Center gave students the opportunity to attend sessions to work on their cover letters, resumes, and build their professionalism. On March 20th, the Career Center held a resume workshop for students to come and work on their resume in preparation for the fair. Students always have a chance to build on their professional lives, with the Career Center holding office hours all week.
Always hold drop-in hours at the Career Center where students can come in and get their resume reviewed.
However, some employers look beyond the resume.
Really, the determining factors of success are the things that I can't teach you.
In looking into the future, SAS career advisor John Charles provides some tips and tricks to prepare students for the business world.
I think the lesson for everybody is you need to be persistent. Don't get frustrated when you get rejected once, twice, or even 5 times. Even very qualified people sometimes face a challenge in getting hired.
For ATV News, I'm Tristan Brown.
As a graduating senior, I've attended many of these job and internship fairs, and I just thank AU for giving us so many opportunities to facilitate the process of procuring an internship or even a job. You never know. You never know what can happen out of these experiences, and even if you don't end up with an opportunity right out of the gate, it's just a great experience to put yourself out there. You need to be able to feel comfortable speaking to people, and I think it's great.
Definitely. I'm only a freshman, so I haven't taken as much advantage of these opportunities, but I definitely plan to, especially when I'm a senior.
You definitely should. One of the perks to being a child is that you can get away with things that we older people can't. Well, that's exactly what 3-year-old Estella Westrick did when on a visit to Rome with her family. Estella had the chance to meet the Pope, but her meeting would cause quite the stir. As the Vatican aide, known as the Papal Gentleman, lifted her up, she then received a kiss from the Pope. But then a nervous Estella took off his skull cap, causing everyone watching and even Pope Francis himself to chuckle. Estella made quite the impression.
Remember Brexit, where Britain voted last year to leave the EU? Talks between leaders are scheduled to finalize the split this week. This is leaving many companies like GM and Goldman Sachs to move hundreds of jobs out of London. Company leaders worry that leaving the EU will make businesses more complicated and costly.
For this week's finance report, we turn to Fatima Mucci.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Fatima Mucci with this week's finance report. President Donald Trump and Speaker Paul Ryan agreed on repealing the Republican alternative to Obamacare due to a lack of votes. Tax reform is now the party's next major legislative effort. However, after failing to unite the party on a health care plan, it remains to be seen whether the Republican leadership can take advantage of their majorities in the House and Senate and succeed in passing a comprehensive tax reform plan. One of the major aspects of tax reform is, of course, lowering taxes. But how do we pay for the cost of a reform plan? And where will the money come from? Will it come from a tax increase from somewhere else? What we do know is that to compensate for a major increase in defense spending, President Trump's budget, known as the skinny budget, proposes major cuts to the state, energy, and education departments, as well as to programs such as the National Endowment for the Arts and the Legal Services Corporation and Meals on Wheels. It's been an interesting week for the stock market. The Dow fell about 238 points, apparently the biggest decline since the election. While some experts say that fluctuation is typical. Others believe the downward performance of the stock market reflects investors' concern with Trump being unable to pass legislation as quickly as promised. Uncertainty around healthcare and infrastructure led to a decrease in shares for the healthcare select sector and the Caterpillar Corporation. So we're keeping an eye on the market as well as the gridlock in Washington. That's it for finance. I'm Fatima Munshi. Back to Tony and Liz at the desk.
Thanks, Fatima. It's very interesting to me that the stock market fell about 238 points, especially with Trump being so focused on the economy and our businesses. And it's an interesting juxtaposition there.
Definitely. He came in and he said that he made so much money with so little money, and it's definitely a huge transition for him to the White House, and I think he's feeling the effects of that now.
Definitely. Now let's see what's happening around the world with Max Abokakol.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Max Abokakol, and this week in world news, we turn to London, where on Wednesday, a savage vehicle and knife terrorist attack outside Parliament in London took the lives of 3 people, including a police officer, a tourist from the US, and a school teacher. 40 other people have been injured from over 10 other countries. The attacker, a man identified as Khalid Massoud, was shot dead after running over multiple people on the Westminster Bridge and crashing into the British Parliament building. The terror group ISIS has claimed responsibility at this time, but no solid evidence has been given connecting them to the attack. This incident comes coincidentally on the anniversary of the Brussels terrorist attack, which consisted of 3 coordinated suicide bombings that occurred last year exactly on the day. The following day, in an act of defiance and unity to this vicious attack, people gathered in Trafalgar Square for a vigil. In addition to this vigil, a GoFundMe has been started by Muslims in London under the title Muslims for London and has raised almost £20,000 in honor of the victims of the attack. Internationally, Germany and France have showed their solidarity by having the Brandenburg Gate lit in the likeness of Union Jack and the darkening of the Eiffel Tower at midnight to honor the victims of this awful attack. Theresa May, current Conservative Prime Minister, had this to say at the end of her speech while addressing the bombing: "We will all move forward together, never giving in to terror, and never allowing the voices of hate and evil to drive us apart." That's all for World News this week. Now back to Tony and Liz at the desk.
Thanks, Max.
What I think is super cool about social media, especially in these horrifying attacks that are happening, is that people who I know who are in those places can mark themselves as safe.
Yeah.
So they know that they're okay even though they're hundreds of miles away.
Well, social media at the end of the day, it's multi-purpose, and it's very interesting to see just the multitude of usage regarding social media, especially with these attacks. To be able to put out to the world that I'm safe. For your friends and family, that's just amazing.
Super important.
Absolutely.
The Senate voted in favor of overturning a wildlife protection bill this past week. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is outraged by the Senate's decision to put cruel hunting practices back into place. The decision allows aerial spotting and land and shoot killings of grizzly bears. If signed into law by President Trump, animals hibernating in their dens will be fair game for hunters. This legislation also stops any future conversation on this topic, prohibiting any further rulings of discussing or discussions by lawmakers. Many animals' rights groups have joined together in urging Trump to veto this bill. Now for a weather report, we go to Nadia Slocum.
Thanks, Liz. I'm Nadia Slocum with this week's weather forecast. Get ready to pull out your sunglasses and sandals. This first day of spring has already passed, and it looks to be quite promising. There's a strong possibility that spring might actually feel like spring from now on. Throughout the week, expect the temperatures to range from the mid-60s into the 70s. But unfortunately, this week will not guarantee clear and sunny skies. On Monday, we'll see a high of 72 degrees and a low of 55 degrees, with showers lasting throughout the day. On Tuesday, we'll have a high of 74 degrees with a low of 48 degrees and thunderstorms during the afternoon. Expect mostly cloudy conditions on Wednesday with a high of 61 degrees and a low of 44 degrees. Unfortunately, the clouds won't be going anywhere for the rest of the week. Thursday will be cloudy with a high of 60 degrees and a low of 48 degrees. If you're heading out Friday, I advise that you bring a light jacket and an umbrella. Friday will be a high of 62 degrees and a low of 47, with a 60% chance of rain showers. Expect some more showers on Saturday, with a high of 64 degrees and a low of 51. Well, that's it for the weather. Try to go out and enjoy it if you have time, but don't forget to bring an umbrella around. Otherwise, you might have a tough week ahead. Back to the studio with Tony and Liz.
Thanks, Nadia. I am just so happy that spring is here. I just think everybody's moods are just brighter and more happy. The district just looks so beautiful with the cherry blossoms and just lighter clothes. I love it.
I love it too. I'm so excited for this skirt and short weather that's happening. And I heard that the cherry blossoms might bloom again since of like this weird weather. So
well, I feel like some bloom, just not all of them. I still saw some buds just waiting to burst. So,
hopeful.
So we'll see. We'll see. H1N1, or as we all know it, the flu, is something that no one wants to experience during the cold months. That's why so many out there choose to get vaccinated. How would you feel, though, if you found out that you received a strain of the vaccine that was 35% less effective? A 2009 study put out by the Science Translational Medicine Journal says that this strain of the vaccine does not activate dendritic cells, which are key to the immune system defense response to germs. Dendritic cells are now being investigated in relation to other medical advances, such as potential cancer vaccines. New strains of the influenza vaccine are in the works, but Linda Lambert and Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases says a vaccine that will prevent against every type of strain is basically unachievable. For the latest in campus news, we turn to Emily Lytle.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Emily Lytle, and this is What's Up AU. It's election season here at AU. Students will have the opportunity to vote for the next AU-SG president. This year's candidates are Taylor Dumpson, Terry Altair, Andy Schwartz, and Haley Lickstein. Multiple organizations, including ATV, have held debates and town halls. The next debate will be hosted by The Darkening on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Unlike the other debates, The Darkening's debate will include candidates running for all positions. Starting next week, students can vote on the AU portal. The legendary artist and actor Common is coming to AU. He will speak at Bender Arena on April 5th at 8 p.m. The KPU event is co-sponsored by multiple AU organizations such as WVAU, BSA, and the Office of Campus Life. The Grammy-winning artist has gained fame for his consciousness raps that focus on the treatment of African Americans. In 2007, he launched an organization dedicated to the empowerment and development of urban youth. Tickets will be available to AU students starting next week. As this week blossoms and winter melts into spring, AU is participating in Holocaust Remembrance Week. Hillel and the Jewish Student Association is sponsoring events throughout the week to honor the more than 6 million lives impacted by persecution and murder. The week begins Sunday with a Holocaust Remembrance Vigil. The vigil will be in the amphitheater at 8 p.m. Then, Monday, a Holocaust survivor will be visiting campus and speaking at 7 p.m. in MGC Room 5. And Tuesday through Wednesday, there will be a 24-hour name reading. Members of the AU community will be reading names on the steps of the Case Centers nonstop Tuesday and Wednesday to memorialize the lives lost. Continuing the spirits of remembering, the Literature Department will be celebrating the lives of recently passed writers. In their event, The Art of Losing, the department is welcoming anyone to come and read or sing from the work of a writer we lost this year. The event takes place Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. in the Battelle Atrium. That's it for What's Up AU. This has been Emily Lytle. Now back to Tony and Liz at the desk.
Thanks, Emily. So Liz, there seems to be a lot going on here at AU. I mean, first and foremost, I am so excited for Common to come. I think he's just done so much in his career, and I think he has a lot of great things to say. So I think that students really should take advantage of that. And also with student government elections going on, the debate, was heated. I have, people reaching out to me and support, asking for support. It's a very, very intense time right now for student government.
Definitely. And I love to see how involved our campus can become in these elections. Yeah. It seems really important that we find somebody who represents everyone.
For sure. I agree.
That's it for ATV News this week. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Liz Holmes.
And I'm Tony Peak. Thanks for watching.